Good morning. And today's aces. So we have full ring, folds around to me. I'm in middle position. Gonna raise my standard. Um, Looking at the players at the table, nobody seems to be overly loose. For the most part, they're relative unknowns. However, they are all playing fairly tight 15-10, 14-14, 15-13, 11-5. He might be tight passive, or he could just be getting batter on a card. So I open for three, which is fine. And then the button calls. So what does the button call with? Somebody who's playing 14-14. I think typically these players call about 20% or so. Usually all pocket pairs. Usually they're suited aces. They typically 3-bet with their premium hands, and they're on the button, so I'd kind of expect jacks plus, ace queen suited, ace king off. I'd expect those hands to raise. I expect some of these suited connectors to call. Whether or not they have the offsuit broadways is up for debate. Again, we just don't know this player what he's gonna do. He may forego those and instead add your suited gappers. I think for the most part, with a mid position player raising, he's probably playing something like this. We could get rid of like the king nine, queen nine, and add those to get us back up to about 20%. I'm just gonna leave those in. I'm gonna take king 10, queen 10 off since I don't see a whole lot of people playing those, and then add in these one gappers. And I think that's going to be good. So he's playing about 20%, so 19.5. He has 258 combos versus us, who we're playing 16.4, and we have 218 combos. So we see a flop of king, queen, 5. And we're out of position. So we have to consider our entire range as to what we're going to do. So if we bet and he calls, what do we do on the turn? What do we do with the turn cards? So if we bet and he calls, there's going to be a lot of cards that don't really change the board much. I think non-club 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. I think they don't really change what hand's going to be ahead. So if I'm ahead now, that card's probably not going to change the fact that I'm ahead on the turn, or vice versa. So we have to think about not only our premium hands, but also our draws. So when we look at this type of, all of the hands that we could have, yeah, I do think, we have to ask, are we going to bet the flush draw? Are we going to bet the open and straight draw? Are we going to bet the gut shots? And I think we have some options. We are going to be checking a lot more frequently than what most people would do. And some of those checks are going to be check raises. So I would say check raises with, let's say, ace jack of clubs, ace 10 of clubs would be good. I think check raising with jack 10 of clubs, probably jack 9 of clubs would be good. Because we're check raising with combo draws, and if we're going to be checking with those combo draws, then we're also going to be check raising with some of our premiums to offset that. So right now on this board, we are at 52.6% versus his 47.4%, and I think we're going to be checking a lot. So what hands don't we check? And I'm kind of looking through here and thinking, do we bet the middle pair? Maybe it kind of protects against that. Do we bet, some of these smaller pocket pairs below the second cards? Maybe, but I also think that we could if we bet those and he calls, he could easily call with a gut shot. He could easily call with, ace of clubs and let's say nine, or ace of clubs and let's say 10 offsuit, offsuit 10. Call with that gut shot with the ace of clubs and then spikes of clubs, and we're going to be in a load of heart. I think we're probably going to be checking almost 100% of the time. I don't know if we have a reason to bet, because when he calls, that's gonna not only hit our range, it's gonna hit his range, and a thinking player's gonna recognize that as well. It's gonna recognize that the board isn't that great. I mean, it's gonna hit both of us, but I kind of see you have that threat of the check raise. If we bet, we could bet ace king maybe. Top pair, top kicker. We could bet maybe king jack, maybe king 10. I think those are going to be betting ranges. And then I think we're going to be betting some of our weaker flush draws. So what do I do? So I check. So let's say we're going to check our sets. We're going to check I think the sets are definitely checks. And I think we're going to have those in our check raising range. I think 2 pair are probably in our check raising range, and our over pair is going to be in our check raising range. And that means then the top pair, I think, is in a betting range. I think our middle pair is going to be in our betting range too. So kings and queens are going to be in our betting range. And then the pocket pair below the second card, I think we have Jack 10, jacks and 10s in our betting range, and 6s, 7s, 8s, and 9s in our checking range. Bottom pair is going to be checking range. Pocket pair below the boards in our checking range. Flush draw. I don't. Let's see here. 5, 6. That's the combo. 6, 7, 7, 8, 9, 7, 9, 8, 10, 8. I think those could be bet, but all of these could be in our checking range, and some of these could actually be in a check raising range. Open-ended straight draw. I think that's checking range. Some of them will be in our check raising range if they make up the flush. Yeah, so I don't want to X that out, but know that I do think we could bet Jack 10, like our hearts, like Jack 10 of hearts. I think we can bet Jack 10 diamonds, Jack 10 spades. We should probably be betting. But Jack 10 of clubs represents a good solid check raise. I'm going to take those out because I think we have everything. So that's going to be our check range. And then villain bets 5.6. Now, villain bets 5.6. It's a pretty large bet into a 7.5 pot bet. 7.5 big blind pot. I think he's going to be doing this top pair, middle pair, probably. Maybe pocket pair. He could be doing that with 100% because he's somewhat aggressive. And it's just, betting because he has a hand. He's got a pair, and he thinks I may have missed. But I think I'm going to do this. Pocket pair below the second card. We're going to say he'll bet those, plus he'll bet his flush draw, open-ended straight draws, and we'll include his gut shots here that he would bet, and then his combo draw. So that's his betting hand. You could see that he's got 70%, and his equity just jumped up versus our checking range. Now, what do? I just called, so let's do this. I think we're going to check raise our sets, and we're check raising our 2 pair. Definitely. We're going to call with our over pair. I think we would call with a pocket pair below the second card, 6s, 7s, 8s, 9s. We're going to call with those, and we're going to see what happens on the turn. If it gets checked through, we're dodging a lot, but and this is probably an error on my spot, or on my part. Bottom pairs, not. I think we're going to be check folding those. So we've got overpair, pocket pairs. I think if we have that, like the ace 5, 6, 5, it's going to be part of some other hand that we have. Pocket pair below the board, I think we're just going to check fold. No made hand, we're going to be check folding. And now we were going to check raise ace jack, ace 10, jack 10, jack 9, 10, 9. So that means we have all of those as part of our flush draws. Let's get this group here. There it goes. All right, we got that. So we're looking at, this is somewhat of a bluff. Check calling. And the no made hands, we had a bunch of those. I'm going to leave those in right now because we have to figure out open enders. We were going to bet those except the check raise. The gut shots, not all of the gut shots. Okay, let's see here. We are going to do suit selection. So we want yeah, were we gonna bet? I think we were gonna bet all of those. I think it was the gut shots. We were gonna check call. So I think those. We'll have to just fix it. We'll just have to fix those. We know that we don't have like the clubs as part of our check calling range there. And then 2-card backdoor flush draws. I think we're keeping those as part of our straight draws. So that looks a lot better. So that's going to be our calling range. So percentage of previous range is 27.8%. We have 54 combos. Their flop range is still very, very wide. 70.3% with 161 combos. We go to the turn, 10 of hearts. That actually can hit us. Could hit him as well. So now it's on us. What do? We would have hit our straight, had our overpair. I think we check. I mean, yeah, it's a possibility that he has the club, but I don't want to bet. I'm not going to have, if I just bet the straights, if I bet the overpairs, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to bet our club draw or heart draws and so forth. So I think I'm going to be checking 100%. And then villain bets. Now, it's important to note that he actually sized down. He bet larger and then he bet half pot here. So I think when he bet half pot, he is aware that it's not, he doesn't have a big hand. So I'm going to exclude like sets and straights. I think he would bet larger on those hands. Yeah, I think he would bet larger on those made hands. I also think he would bet larger on like 2-pair overpair. I think top pair, middle pair is going to start slowing down, betting a little bit smaller. And I think his draws, his open enders and his flush draws are probably going to start betting smaller. So that's his betting range. And I call. What am I calling with? I'm going to say I don't think I have a check raising range because I think we're going to if we raise it, I think it allows him to play kind of perfectly. He can fold the top pair, middle pair, and he can base his call on whether or not my raise is giving him the odds to draw. So I kind of think like a check raise really is out of the question at this point. I think we're going to be calling with most of our hands, so we're going to be calling with straight over pair. I think weak pair we're gonna fold, and then that leaves our other hand. So we need, he bets half pot. We need 25% equity on this, and that's we're getting 3-1 on our call. I don't think we're quite getting, our the draws, like our flush draw. I don't think we're quite getting the odds to draw to our flush. So I mean, we could, I guess, check raise those, but I don't think he's really going to be folding a whole lot. Maybe, but when you look at our flush draws, we've got ace jack, ace 10. I think ace jack already has a straight, so I'm not going to be raising those. Jack 9 has a straight. I'm not really going to be raising those. I don't think we're going to have a lot of those, and we're not getting the odds to call. So really, I don't really have many draws or actually even many bluffs. We do have the overpair. I think aces, we've got overpair. I'm kind of thinking he has king or a queen at this point. So I kind of lose out on a lot of these flush draws. But they're still part of my straights. So I think that's probably a mistake on my part on how I'm constructing these ranges. Definitely, I think this is a mistake on my part. I am much, much tighter than I should. I don't have any bluffs here. I don't have any bluff hands. I don't have any draw hands. He's going to be able to get away with a lot, get away from a lot of his hands. All right, so Queen of Diamonds hits. At this point, I've got a much wider range, a much stronger range than him. And the question is, if I bet, do I get anyone to call? I think with that queen, no. I think if this was, let's say, a 2 or a 4, I think we could bet and probably get a king to call us. But with the queen, I think he's just going to fold his kings. I think most of the time he's going to fold his kings. And when you look at this, his top pair of the kings, 22%. I think he's going to fold everything below that. So if 50%, I guess we could call, but with the straight ace jack, yeah, probably we would bet the straight. We would check our overpair. I think that's probably what we would do. And if we bet and he raises us, I think we can fold. I think that's our fold. Actually, to take that back, it kind of comes down to if we think he's going to bet with more of his bluffs or with more of his weaker hands, or call with more of them. So if we think he's going to bet all the way to top pair and weak pair, then I think we check call. If we only think he's going to bet his straights and 3 of a kind, and check everything else, but would have called these, then I think we bet and let him call. So what do I do? I actually checked, which versus an unknown, I don't think a whole lot of people are super aggressive. I think they're going to be checking a lot more. So I think we probably should have bet here. And then villain checked behind, and he shows king jack. So he had one of those top pair hands, king jack. So that's not surprising. Not surprising with how he played. So we're gonna take a note. Call in button versus RF versus, let's see here, let's see here, I think that was 3/4 pot. So we had the hand. Again, I think we've really narrowed our hand. I think it became very easy for opponents to read us. We don't really have any draws, so kind of have to rethink what kind of hands I'm going to be playing this. Maybe I should have bet this board, but as I said, so many crappy cards. That card comes. We check the turn he bets. I mean, God, that's going to be awful. That's going to be awful for us. And 10 wasn't a good card for us. So I kind of think we can check and call and then check call. I mean, we still get the money in at that point, and I think it's a little bit more revealing on his hand because he sized down. All right, if you like this hand, look tomorrow for another one.